I'm baffled. On a whim, I decided to scroll through my library on Steam. Just to, I don't know, because the Stomping Land, for whatever reason, popped into my mind. And for those of you who don't know, Stomping Land was like the phrase that comes to mind first, but might not be accurate, would be like the original gaming rug pull, where a handful of developers are working on it. They have a Kickstarter. Supposedly, there's like one lead developer, Jig, a modeler, and like perhaps one other person. And long story short, the developer Jig loses contact with the rest of the team. Updates stop coming about progress and as well as, updates to the build of the game. And that was back in 2014 was the last update for this. And now, seems as though they're back. They said they were gonna be, like, porting the game to a new engine, building it from the ground up. We have a sort of Q&A thread to go over before we dive in here. But it's just, it really is mind-blowing. And for, I don't know, for context, I guess, I was trying to, stream under a category of Stomping Land, but it doesn't even fucking exist on Twitch, which is, might give you some context. A lot of early access games even have categories on Twitch nowadays. But, yeah, there were, I would say, a fair bit of eyes on that project when it was in early access, and when the game stopped getting updates. There was a fair bit of backlash. I believe I remember maybe Total Biscuit covering it, maybe Jesse Cox. But yeah. Anyway, let's hear from the horse's mouth himself. You can read this too on the Steam discussions page of Stomping Land, if you have Stomping Land. I don't know if you're able to access this page if you're not already invested in the game. I was looking forward to this game, and I did buy into it, but so I'm, I don't know, one of the unfortunate, lucky, who knows, few to reveal some sort of footage from it, as well as cover it because I know about it. I don't know. But let's read here. We got Jig's posts, Stomping Land Rebuild Q&A. Let's actually see if I can throw this on here. Why not? I'll just, that's fine. Yeah. So, yeah. Stomping Land Rebuild Q&A. There have been a whole lot of there's been a whole lot of curiosity about the state of Stomping Land, what I'm doing with it, why the very slight delay of 7 years, etc. My recent thinking about this was to rebuild much of the game first and talk later, because I'm convinced that the evidence of progress is more effective than any answers I could give. At least for the time being. But given the amount of discourse going around, we can just tackle this now, and again later, if anyone likes. First, I'll cover some commonly seen questions and then answer any replies over the next few days or so. So, Jake, what happened? The primary issue with this is Jake's point of view anyway. Perhaps the other developers of the Stomping Land had something else to say about it, but who knows? The dinosaur modeler said something about how he wasn't getting paid for his work, so we might see something brought up here. The primary issue with the original Stomping Land was that I didn't keep fans informed. There were times when the game went weeks or occasionally months without any updates. Fans started believing the game was abandoned. Many others got upset that prototype features weren't seen in the actual alpha release. One major mistake was that I didn't clarify the purpose of the prototype, which was to showcase that I'm capable of developing the features of this game. The prototype itself, however, was developed with an emphasis on speed, not structure. This means that much of the actual game had to be rebuilt so that everything was part of a unified system, working online and capable of overlapping with all other features. During this transition, many features had to sit on the back burner. My trajectory was to take the game from A to Z, discover everything that I didn't know I needed to know, since this was my first rodeo, and then reiterate through all the pieces until it eventually turned into something great. This whole process is what makes indie development awesome. And even though the original launch of the game was subpar, it was amazing to just be able to see random people fight dinosaurs and craft weapons, etc. Despite all this, most fans who were in the dark with this process interpreted these results as some kind of deception, when so much was missing and updates took so long, and it was my fault for not addressing the obvious. For that, I'm sorry. Yeah, most fans who were in the dark, all fans who were left in the dark, I don't know what he's saying. Like, he did just kind of walk off with 100K from the Kickstarter. What else we got? Second paragraph of that answer. Even though it took so many years, I'm perfectly confident returning to this game because I know that my intentions have always been genuine. I still really want to make this game. Now, far better equipped to tackle the pieces of this project. I've been testing a great strategy for updates over the last few months. Instead of the classic major patch here and there, I'm enjoying a play as I build it process. With week-to-week updates allowing anyone to jump in as if you were if you were part of the development process. As a one-person dev team, it's far more beneficial to me to just have people try things out as I'm making it, instead of treating the game in such an official manner. Plus, it will probably be interesting to watch others for others to watch the project evolve. I don't know why that took a little bit of effort to go through, but didn't really need to take 7 years though. best way to answer this is just produce results. But I really have been using this time to fine-tune all aspects of the game dev craft, from programming to content creation. I experimented with a bunch of pseudo projects, VR games, WebAssembly games, and classic games with Unreal Engine 4. I did have the occasional side quest here and there, and these last couple of years I got sidetracked by an awesome job opportunity, which I then left to pursue the Stomping Land rebuild. More information on that would be interesting. Is this some kind of cash grab? Stomping Land is not being sold or resold to anyone, which is good. Not accepting donations or any crowdfunding. Not making Stomping Land 2, nor am I making some other game. I'm rebuilding Stomping Land for free for a few reasons. 1. I owe it to a lot of fans to give them a cool game they anticipated having. 2. I still really want to play this game the way I imagine it, despite the catalog of similar games. 3. Misunderstanding of this game's history still hangs on me. I need to fix it. So, let's tell people what happened. Seems like you're leaving out a good bit of details that people would want to know. It doesn't matter if the player base never exceeds 10 people, or if it does, make a single dime. You just need to make an acceptable result. If the game ever goes up for sale, again, it wouldn't be up to me. It would be up to you. The only thing I can do from here is try to make something of value. That... I can respect that. I can certainly respect that if he means it. You know? Because people can just say shit. But, yeah. That would be... That would be nice. Let's hope that's what he means, but... skepticism. Healthy dose of skepticism with this project in particular. What about the employees you didn't pay? And those are in quotes. Just to clarify a few base facts. I never had employees or office space. I've always worked out in my living room. I had freelancers make specific assets per contract. So, like sound effects and dinosaur models. Here's the important part. Every single contract for every person who has ever worked for me has been paid in full and on time. A flawless record working with contractors, and this has always been the case. As far as the claim from the dinosaur modeler, I don't know why he would say that, but I wonder if he had anything to gain by doing so. I'm not going to entertain the topic any further, because I have no intention of creating heat. If those claims were to leverage through the proper channels, I have everything I need to dissolve it. That's all well and good, but like people are gonna need receipts to believe any of that shit. You know? Is anyone working with you on the rebuild? I'd like to remain solo for at least the first year of development, primarily as a challenge for myself. While I'm going to push to remain consistent, there is no rush to make this, so I'll reevaluate development goals periodically. The only exception is audio. I never make audio. Yeah, what I do seem to remember the Stomping Lands being eerily quiet. But what are you planning on doing with the new version of Stomping Land? Development builds will be open to everyone to play. The actual plans will mostly stay locked up because, well, we saw how that went. Here's some key weights to my current plan. Keep the best ideas and features from the prototype. Leverage a few major hooks to differentiate this game from other similar games. Compose a visual identity more accurate than what I was able to do in the prototype. And purge unnecessary content so this is actually possible by one person. Certainly a good, what's the word? A good realization. You know, feature creep and like bloated development cycles are never what you want. You want to be able to, you know, work within your means. Are you going to keep that garbage mechanic of roping other players that made me rage quit on repeat? Yeah, if you were on the wrong server, then you were definitely getting kidnapped quite a lot. It's like they had a mechanic of like they had like bolos and like lassos that you could essentially rope people's feet and then drag them back to your camp and then imprison them. And then like your tribe would have to bust you out, or they would just like, I don't know, eat you. I don't remember what the fuck the penalty was. I think you just kind of died, or you were just imprisoned. You just had to like log out or die, or get freed. It's been like 8 years, so I don't fucking know. All right. I mean, jury's still out. The original game had an unintentionally high emphasis on PvP, though. My current gameplay layout has more emphasis on co-op hunting mechanics. Gotcha. That would be cool. We'll see how that do, and if that manifests. What's the deal with all bans? I really don't want to ban anyone, but some people just turn vitriol into hobby. Ultimately, forums aren't for me. They're for everyone else. And if someone is spitting in misinformation or starting arguments, then I have no problem giving them the boot. Just be friendly, right? This gives me some cause for concern. The rebuild of Stomping Land's already up and running, and will iterate consistently over time. Anyone who is curious about progress doesn't need to ask. Just jump in game with weekly updates. Weekly-ish updates, I guess. Using dev playtest from launch. And so, wait, did he answer any shit on the first page? Yeah, it doesn't look like it did. So one person says, well, I do support rebuilding the game. The rebuilding of this game, you've yet to talk about the fact that you stole $114,060 from 4,427 backers on Kickstarter. Alright, and his response, 100%. We're just gonna go over Jig's stuff in this. There's only 3 pages of this forum, and then we're gonna try out what we can. that 100% of the backing funds went to the development of the game as promised, all during its original dev years. Any other rhetoric surrounding these topics is unfounded. Ultimately, sales being discontinued was entirely due to long updates and poor communication for an early access game. I promise that these improvements will be visible with this private revival. Receipts, my dude, because that is a bold claim. That is a big old bold claim. Yeah, somebody giving them the gesture badge. Alright, another person said many people paid for physical items in the Kickstarter of the game, self included. You're right. The art book is an important piece that I want to be real, but building this game will lead into that happening. Ooh. Yeah. We'll see. Believe when I see it. Alright. More Q&A kind of section. Rebuilding on Unreal Engine 5. Yes, Unreal Engine 5 is basically identical to UE4 with the addition of a few new impactful features. 2D systems, meta sounds, and Lumen are really useful. Okay, so he's switching to UE5 supposedly. Intend to animate this game yourself. As of right now, I'll be making almost all of the content for the rebuild, most importantly being animation. Animation decisions, specifically video game animation, are heavily tied to its programming counterpart. Certain components, such as how input and actions are composed, capsule locomotion, all of its potential complexities, and the meticulous construction of anagraphs. All of these things heavily influence how a set of animations are crafted before the animations are even made. The spectrum of parts is one of the initial reasons I pushed away from the basic animation jobs and into indie games, because it's way more satisfying to compose both the yin and yang of video game animation. Together, it's a complete craft. I'm still learning. Let's continue. But I've got some thoughts already about that section, but he might have something to clarify here. For example, the current build of the game has a hunter with basic locomotion you can find in any video game. And achieving these results could be quickly mimicked by simply using the character tools provided by Unreal Engine. The Stomping Land Hunter, however, doesn't use these tools, and instead has all of his locomotion built from the ground up in C++. This includes all uniquely composed velocity and gravity calculations down to the math. How it interacts with every possible collision and every type of input for every designed capsule state at all times, as both the animator and the programmer. Having this level of control over the character is supremely enabling, because I know precisely how every possible action needs to be composed down to the math and up to the sequences. Now I can achieve all kinds of really interesting results, such as the super smooth edge vaulting and wall climbing currently in the game. I guess we'll take a look at that and see if it is super smooth. This requires a set of technical decisions heavily informed by how I want the character to behave, which is then capped by actual animations. It's something that simply cannot be done to the same standard by using the character tools. Over time, I'll be layering all kinds of really cool interactions between the hunter, the environment, and the dinosaurs, yeah, the dinosaurs, and so on. Ugh. Excuse me. It's one of the most important hooks, I think. It's one of the important hooks I think will make this game unique and something I wanted to do, but wasn't capable of doing years ago. Alright. Yeah, I would be interested to hear what another game dev and another like animator has to say about this answer, because something a lot of people do when they're like trying to cover up wrongdoing is like hide it in a bunch of jargon, and this is like a very heavily jargoned up passage. Like, to the average person, like fucking capsule locomotion, anagraphs, I feel like there was at least another. Save soon by using the character tools. Like yeah, character tools up here. Like the uniquely composed velocity and gravity calculations. A lot of people don't know like what the difficulty of these and like the time consumption of these features, like the dev time involved in these features, I should say. That's a better way to put it. So I'd be curious to see what like a game dev says in regards to this. I so far, like, I can give him somewhat of a benefit of the doubt just because he's not charging anybody any more money. But the like all the money being like put into the game development from the Kickstarter, until I see receipts, I'm calling Bubkiss on that shit. Here, did you mean compose a unique visual identity active to your original vision, or are you talking about the dinosaur models and art assets? So, the prototype Kickstarter basically is what it is because that's all I could do back then. Way less time was spent thinking how do I make this specific thing interesting, and way more time was spent how do I make this specific thing at all. Learning is ongoing, but at least now I know pieces well enough to put a lot more energy into style decisions. So this sort of thing calls back to like the the like being developed for speed over function thing that he was going over in the initial Q&A post. And this calls back to something that like Bellular actually brought up. Great channel. But if you something to the tune of like if you're developing a whole bunch of features like sloppily and not necessarily airtight, like getting all the bugs out, uh, like and polishing it up, uh, like sort of one at a time. And then as you keep stacking uh, more things into that program, stacking more features into that game, just becomes a clusterfuck. And then you're spending more dev time trying to figure out how to fix what you've already put in, but is you put it in sloppily. I'm butchering that. I could find a link to a video about that. I should remind myself to put that in the description or something. What else has he got? This is the only other one from this page, and then 3. Okay, that 3 is not. So this is just the last one. Okay, and then we'll get into it. So, what doesn't add up in my mind is how you did that. It's how did that modeler sell the models to third parties and other games if you own the rights? This is a good question, but it's one I don't want to elaborate on. Ultimately, it seems like those models have found a good home, and I think they should stay there. I got mixed feelings about this response. On one hand, I feel like that's a like I don't know. Say he is telling the truth, which it's a good question, but one I don't want to elaborate on is the suspicious part of this, I should say. But say he is telling the truth as far as the whole situation with the dinosaur modeler. Then this is sort of a pretty mature way to look at it, you know. One that advertises I'm easily scammable in the future by other devs, but you know maybe he's learned his lesson from that guy, or maybe that I don't know. This could open up a whole can of worms, but I'm here for it. Why? Whatever. Alright, and if you own rights to the dinosaur models, why aren't you willing to use any, even if as placeholders? There are 2 main reasons I'm not using previous models. One, the initial pass for the Stomping Land rebuild is being split into sub-projects. Right now, I'm just working on the Hunter and related mechanics that don't overlap with the dinosaurs. So placeholders for dinosaurs aren't needed because nothing dinosaur related is being worked on. It won't be for a while. /sad face. 2. Lumen. GI lighting system introduced with Unreal Engine 5 is basically a type of ray tracing. It does a fantastic job at visually pronouncing geometrical information. This type of lighting does not interact with common tools like normal maps, and texture-heavy assets do not lean into the advantages of GI the same way as assets that prioritize geometrical shapes. I modeled the Hunter currently in the game, and even though it doesn't use any normal maps or any textures, it already looks super appealing because its design was pushed into the geometry and silhouette, which Lumen then pronounces beautifully. So the style of the game overall is going to lean into this heavily. purging most textures and focusing more on geometry, design, and silhouettes. Not only will this choice help justify the use of this technically expensive lighting, but it also means I won't have to make textures for 95% of the game. It's a huge time saver. All in all, core value of the old dinosaurs is highly dependent on the textures and normals, so they're simply not needed anymore. So that sounds like they're going for much more stylized kind of deal. If it's like 95% textureless and it's just like heavily based on lighting. Maybe like some cell shading kind of action. I don't know. That for whatever reason was a hard paragraph for me to get through. But boas, roping, and cage systems are indeed very unique to this game, but has no place in the game in the form it is. The unintentionally high emphasis on PvP made these tools into ridiculous weapons of war. Haha. It was entertaining to point, but my current plan should nudge them in the right direction. Yeah, it was just... The PvP in this game was kind of dog shit, but alright, last question. So, same goes in my opinion for the physical inventory, until the introduction of the typical inventory, which just broke the immersion this game managed to present. I agree that highly manual mechanics are a ton of fun so long as they aren't overly tedious. The concept of manual mechanics happened to lean nicely into requiring unique animation mechanics, so I coincidentally have lots of this planned. Thanks for the additional feedback and the awesome drawing. It's going to take a long time until the gameplay takes shape, but any discussion along the way is always fun. So that's all we have from Jig. If we go back... they have no social media, but they have the stompingland.com, which, if you go to the stompingland.com, that's the stompingland.com, or rather stompingland.com, just a white screen with Stomping Land right in the corner. So it's obviously very early days of the rebuild. Yeah, this post was fucking January 15th. Whoa. Excuse me again. January 16th. If we look here, 2 updates in April, 2 updates in May. Let's give it a look, shall we? What is... Oh, it's over AMD. Graphics driver has known issues. Please install the latest recommended drivers. I don't care enough to update my drivers for this, or downgrade my drivers for this. I don't know. Oh, is it? Oh, this is the menu. I thought this was like a loading screen. Alright, to customize. Let's leaderboards, profile. Nothing. Can't click profile. Leaderboards. Can't click leaderboards. Settings. No settings. No credits. Glossary doesn't work. Customize also doesn't work. But play works. Play, the only button that works is play. Settings. Okay, settings works in here, though. That's weird that I can't just, like, click. Oh, okay. There is no music for the game, so enjoy some Age Mythology music. Graphics, yeah, full, yeah. Limit FPS to 90, 60 is fine. Display FPS, sure. VSync off, motion blur off. Because Jesus Christ, motion blur is cancer. Anti-aliasing. That would be nice. GI lighting. I guess that's what he was talking about in that paragraph. I didn't quite understand. The shadows would be nice. Sure. Input. It's no game options so far. Okay, so WASD to move, space to jump. Every second is apparently a minute in the clock down at the bottom right. 45 FPS. Consistent. I can click to spit balls. And there's just this island. Oh. Got some climbing nonsense going on. Interesting. Does it float? Can I swim? Can swim. I look quite claymation. It's very jarring to be claymation in water and then not so on land. Right click does nothing. E and Q do nothing. Is there any other inputs I should know? Crawls. C. Interact as F. Alright. Crawl on your belly like a snake. And, F. To interact. What could I possibly interact with? Tree. Interact with me. Oh, shift is crouch. I didn't see that. So we can be sneaky. Climb some shit. Climb out of the water. Interesting. This is very early. We got some plants. React to the wind. They don't look terrible. I wonder if these are like store assets. Who knows? Not necessarily anything is wrong with like store assets. I don't know these. Never seen asset stores. But I know this dude's trying to rebuild the game. We'll give it the benefit of the doubt. So that seems to be about all we can do. So yeah, this interactable foliage did not seem to do anything. Base mechanics. There is supposedly a picture here, but it's empty. Lost you a few ground animation sets and add some transitions. mostly server-related changes this patch. We're kind of going back in time as far as patches and whatnot. Did an ambient foliage from last patch. And base setting for audio. Fixed bug causing the game to hang after shutdown. I always hate that when games are like when games fail to close after like you shut them down. Let's fix certain motion states, not replicating minor to okay. Well, sound mechanics. I thought he didn't do audio. I mean, I'm just fucking messing with it. I mean, audio shifts based on distance with altitude from shore, underwater ambience with separate channels for sounds that can only be heard under and above water. I didn't really get that I could be underwater. Sounds for uncrushed modes. All types of land surfaces. Rain audio syncs with weather. Voiceover sounds? Revolting. Oh, yeah. Various water interaction, biggest. So as far as like the running and the vaulting and whatnot, not I mean, yeah, not the worst technically, but this may just be a lack of experience on his part, but there's a crazy dude on YouTube who like recreates other games in Unreal, like gives himself challenges to create. Like the one I watched, but I saw like he had some others, was like recreating the undead starting zone from World of Warcraft in a week. And that was just nuts. That was absolutely wild. But I don't know. I think these seem to be two ends, like the Stomping Lands and that guy seem to be sort of two ends of the spectrum as far as like game development time frames. Oh, it's crazy. But, yeah. Stomping Land is back. And I suppose I should give, before I pass out for the day, I should give some reference as to, what the Stomping Land actually was back in the day. Or some context, rather. So we have a fair comparison, you know. Yeah, sure, it's fine. Oh. Yeah, fine. Oh, God. Oh, Jesus. Hold on a second. that's quite annoying. It's full screen that. That's what? Hello. What? Okay, Jesus Christ. Then get the audio. No audio controls. Okay. Online search. 0 servers. No servers on hosts. Can't host the server, so I guess we're playing solo. Yeah, the ideal experience is online where you find friends and enemies. Start solo. Yeah, because there is no multiplayer. It hasn't been for like 7 years. So this is what it was, and now I can't stand. Space is inventory. Right click is jump. What are these controls? Can I rebind them? Customize. Ugh. Gee, why not? Alright, so, we cannot change the FOV. I don't think. Yeah, no. Alright, I apparently just gather wood. G. Customize. I don't remember anything about this game. Oh shit. Have a snack, dude. Dinosaur battle? Oh. Stomping land, everybody. Jesus, sounds like it's right on fucking top of me. Yeah. So yeah, in this game, there is, supposedly some dinosaur riding shit. I was never able to do it. Okay, well, we got. Yes, we make some traps. Bow, arrows, shields. Bolts, torch, gauge, fire pit. mess with stuff. I don't believe you can kill anything until you have a spear or a bow. From what I remember, it is pretty damn difficult. The scaling is a bit wonky, but I don't know. I will. Oh. I mean, that's pretty cool. You got some Tarzan slide nonsense. Well, what did I expect to happen? Stay alive. Why? What happened? And this is solo. Why would it even have that mechanic? And you lose all your shit when you die. Which is why you do have to kind of make a base camp sort of thing. I don't remember if you can like go pick up your stuff or not. But yeah, there are no NPCs and whatnot. Well, yeah, I forgot that. Gotta be sneaky when it comes to this shit. Shit. Oh shit. You don't see me? Alright, well. I might do a video of like trying to get a little base camp up and running just to show a comparison of what's going on here between what they're going for, what they had. I don't even know if it like saves your I don't even know if it saves your solo world. No idea. But yeah, I'll probably do another little video to show people what Stomping Land was. But for now, I'm gonna get some sleep.